Michael Graham is in our Washington bureau. He's the creative director for the Weekly Standard. All right, Michael, let me start off by asking you if you think President-elect Trump is picking a fight with the intelligence community.
You could argue that they're picking a fight with him to some degree. It's fascinating, the follow-up reporting that's been done about the divide between the CIA, who are asserting not just that the Russians interfered, but interfered to help Donald Trump, versus the FBI, who says, yes, there's evidence that they interfered, but not evidence of motive. So there is a fight going on inside government. But, you know, Donald Trump sees that his supporters believe that everybody inside Washington hates the fact that he won, that they all wish they could go back and relitigate the election. He talks about the relitigation of the election. The fact is, we see it being relitigated right now. Jill Stein is in court right now. The Clinton campaign signed on. And so he's going after the political aspect of this story.
Mr. Trump is also downplaying the importance of the presidential daily briefing, saying he only gets them once a week. What do you make of that?
Oh, well, you know, he's busy. You've got to find time to produce the TV show. Schwarzenegger doesn't want to show up on time. He's got golf clubs. I think that I was not a Trump fan during the election. He's our president now, so we try to make things work. But I think a lot of reluctant Trump people like the idea that Trump will operate it kind of as a CEO, where every division will be handled by somebody who's smart, and he'll just kind of big picture guy. You know, so you can ask yourself, what is better? Trump kind of once a week, you know, give me the headlines, or Trump every day kind of down and, okay, yeah, exactly how far did these Russian tanks move towards the Ukrainian border? You know, so somewhere in between there is, I think, where the comfort zone is.
It'll be interesting to see how that develops once he's actually in office. But Let me turn to Mr. Trump's leading candidate for Secretary of State, ExxonMobil CEO and Chairman Rex Tillerson. Florida Senator Marco Rubio tweeted Sunday, "Being a friend of Vladimir is not an attribute I am hoping for from a Secretary of State." Are you expecting, Michael, a battle over this confirmation if Mr. Trump picks Tillerson?
Absolutely. And, you know, if you're going to use the CEO model that Trump seems to be leaning towards, you should have a fight over these picks, because they really are going to have a sense of, you know, an amount of autonomy that maybe these folks haven't had in the past. It should be noted, he still hasn't announced him yet. And I think that's fascinating. Fred Barnes, the Weekly Standard, we did our podcast on Friday, and he said that the people around Trump that he knows are telling him that Trump really likes Mitt Romney, that he's kind of surprised at how, you know, much common ground, I guess, they found, or a working relationship. And so, but he can't get it past his supporters. Rex Tillerson, is that the guy that the grassroots would support? Rex Tillerson really doesn't exist politically. You know, he's never had a political job before. He's been a CEO, unlike, say, George Shultz, who had been a CEO immediately before Reagan picked him to be Secretary of State, but had worked in government in the past. So my question is, what problem does Rex Tillerson solve? And the answer is, I don't see it.
That's a good question. I wonder, Michael, what you make of this process for picking Secretary of State, because on Sunday, Mr. Trump tweeted, "Stay tuned" about his choice. So is the president-elect floating Tillerson as a trial balloon at this point, you think?
Well, I think Donald Trump is the best manipulator of media I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he knows how to chum the water, and I'm a sucker. I jump right in, right after him, exactly. And so I think that really is part of it, is kind of, I'm going to control the storyline. I'm going to have people looking at what I want them to look at. I also think that it's probably smart, you know, to let a group vetting, if you will. You know, crowdsourcing is the big spin in new media. He's basically kind of letting people crowdsource. Hey, you know something about Tillerson I should know? Maybe you'll get it out there. I will say this. I don't see how for assuring people about your leadership, people who's concerned about Trump was experience, does he have the right temperament? Going back to the Russian card again and again helps him. I think people kind of get the, hey, you know, if you can work with the Russians when you can and then fight them when you have to, we don't have to start off antagonistic. I think people will kind of make some room for that. But when you've got a guy who got an award from Vladimir Putin, whose company made $500 billion or stands to on a deal, that just raises so many red flags. I go back again. Mr. Trump, what is it you're trying to do with this?
All right. Michael Graham in Washington. Michael, thanks so much.
Thank you, Elaine.